Hello again. Okay, so part 8 now of the American Withdrawn, Toni Morrison, The Bluest Eye. So I had coffee this morning and I listened to her opening, like around 19 minutes into it. And I read it in a coffee shop, and so if you're looking for the type of reading where people really, have a very meticulous viewpoint, I'm not looking to do that here. But I'm more interested in commenting on impressions and continuity within her entire composition. So first off, I think when I first started YouTubing her, I was interested in her comparisons with great, people we would consider white male authors. She was comparing herself to them, and that was her apologetics. If people had a problem with her for doing something, is there, what is that problem? Is it maybe about her scholarship surrounding, these sort of great, Tolstoy, these sort of things. And so what really sort of stood out for me in that novel is that she's really likening herself to the sound and the fury. She definitely has a belief system that there's something about mental incompetence that has a music to it. And so she wants to take on a viewpoint of someone who is not as educated as herself, and create a character. And so from that point, I think it's really good to understand her as fiction, because I think when you start reading people attempting to claim that a lot of depravity is about stupefaction, I think that they really do miss the idea, considering in her dialogue that she references Russian influential authors on English composition. For whatever reason, they're English canonized in some way. They're from Russia, but very important for English. So someone like Dostoevsky, his entire ideas is surrounding the idea that you're talking about human beings who are doing these sort of depraved things, and human beings are very intelligent, and so in that respect, I find her offensive, because she's trying to use scholarship of these kind of, and I think through her she almost brings out in her writing their essential prejudices and their essential that children do think in very simple ways. That's not how I view children personally. I think children are from young ages, I think they're very dynamic. I definitely believe in that type of child worship, where if adults were more like children, we would pick up languages more easily. We would, we would be able to, bounce back, start up again, have a lot of youthful hope and optimism. We believe in eternal life, that ourselves were still young. And for her, I think she really wants a youth character that is really relegated to a specific camera view. And I don't find that possible. I think our thoughts are all over the place at the same time. We're kind of like focused in on life, and we're doing a lot, but there's a lot of the iceberg going on, and that's why that's a lot of the anxiety that surrounds education, is wanting to understand a lot about, you know, understand more about a lot. So in many ways, I do find her somewhat offensive surrounding this character. The character is not intelligent enough. I will say that, but I mean, and I think that's a fault of hers, because she is so scholarly and traditional. I mean, Jane Hamilton, a lot of other authors are doing this with perpetrational ideas that people are essentially these very like funny kind of like id characters, and that's not true. A lot about predatory behaviors, about being very normal and very trusting. So that I didn't like. But I think, I mean, to give her more credit than my initial opinion, I think that she is creating, she's trying to create a poetics. And so I think she may even be elaborating the idea that people's thoughts or opinions are too prejudicial, and when it may even be that she's making that known through what she's doing. That also, I mean, I really like that's that thread I think I see in African American or authorship, is that that sequentiality, that they're so good at, like, really pointing out that there were specific events and they happened in a specific time frame. And so she points to several events. There's the central event surrounding how the earth would grow something, and how people relate to that experience, and also a sense of how she defines innocence surrounding something that views children as lustful. But I think the way she's dealing with that is so subservient to her language ideas, that I think that the amount of I mean, she's just very fast about it, and I think that those types of events for her, the events that lose the self, the events that that's her introduction roughly. She's talking about that the self in some way becomes repressed, almost not remembered, and that there are specific events that happen that that people can almost see this happening. And so I think to be subservient to language and how she wants to play out what she's doing, is that she does, I think, miss something of the fact that those events are not small or without more, So that's me about her, is she's too subservient to the language and to the image, and so she misses, I think, that it's about a lot more.